Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever dreamed of changing your life but felt like the steps were too big, too overwhelming, or too impossible? I want you to know something right now. Life doesn't wait for giant leaps. Life responds to what you do every single day. It's the tiny choices, the small habits, the little things that most people overlook that ultimately shape the trajectory of your future. The first key point, the power of tiny actions, is one of the most underestimated forces in personal transformation. Yet it carries the ability to completely reshape your life over time. Many people think that to create significant change, they need to take massive sweeping actions, quitting a job, moving to a new city, or completely overhauling their lifestyle overnight. But the truth is, life-changing results often begin not with monumental leaps, but with the smallest, seemingly insignificant choices made consistently. Consider brushing your teeth. Each day it seems trivial, almost automatic. Yet the habit prevents serious health issues over the course of a lifetime. The same principle applies to your behaviors, routines, and decisions. When you start to focus on small intentional actions that are manageable, easy to repeat, and consistent, you begin to build a foundation for profound change. These actions may feel almost invisible at first, like drops of water falling into a bucket, yet over time they accumulate into something powerful and undeniable. Tiny actions also have the advantage of accessibility. You don't need a huge plan, a lot of money, or exceptional talent to take a small step. You simply need commitment and the willingness to act, no matter how small the effort seems. When you consistently take tiny steps in the right direction, you are rewiring your brain, forming neural pathways that reinforce the behaviors that serve you, while weakening those that hold you back. This process, often invisible in the short term, creates momentum. Momentum is a force that compounds. Once you start moving even a little, it becomes easier to take the next step, and then the next. Small actions also reduce the psychological resistance that comes with change. Massive transformations can feel daunting, overwhelming, and intimidating, which is why so many people procrastinate or give up before they even begin. Tiny actions, on the other hand, lower the barrier to entry. They give you a sense of control and competence, building confidence that propels you forward. Over time, what begins as a modest effort snowballs into significant achievement. The cumulative effect of small positive choices can alter the course of your life in ways you never imagined. By focusing on the small, you are not ignoring the big picture. You are actually setting yourself up to reach it in a sustainable, powerful way. Each small action is like planting a seed in fertile soil. At first, it may seem like nothing is happening. You water it, tend to it, and give it sunlight day after day. Then, slowly, the roots take hold. Gradually, a sprout emerges. And eventually, with consistency, patience, and care, it grows into a tree that bears fruit, a tree that transforms the landscape around it. The beauty of tiny actions is that they are democratic. They are available to anyone. You do not need to be an expert, a genius, or extraordinarily talented to begin. What you do need is awareness of your choices and the courage to start, even when the change seems small. Because the moment you embrace the power of tiny actions, you awaken a force within yourself that is unstoppable. The second key point, momentum over motivation, is a concept that can fundamentally change the way you approach personal growth and success. Most people rely on motivation, the temporary surge of energy or inspiration, to drive their actions. They wait for the right mood, the perfect moment, or a burst of excitement to push them forward. But motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like a wave, unpredictable and unreliable. If you depend solely on motivation, your progress will be inconsistent and your goals may remain distant dreams rather than realities. Momentum, on the other hand, is a far more powerful force. Momentum is the cumulative effect of repeated action. It doesn't rely on how you feel in any given moment. It builds naturally as you take consistent steps forward. Once momentum is established, it carries you along, making it easier to continue and more difficult to stop. It transforms effort from a struggle into a flow. Imagine pushing a heavy boulder. At first, it takes tremendous effort to move it even an inch. That initial push is challenging, exhausting, and requires focus. But once the boulder starts rolling, it gains speed and carries itself forward. Each additional push is easier, and eventually it moves faster than you ever imagined possible. The same principle applies to your actions and habits. By starting with small, consistent steps, you create movement. Each step builds upon the last, creating an energy that propels you forward even on days when motivation is absent. Momentum compounds because it feeds on itself. The more you act, the more momentum you generate, and the easier it becomes to continue acting. This is why people who have developed strong habits or routines seem unstoppable. They are riding the wave of momentum rather than waiting for motivation to appear. One of the keys to building momentum is to focus on action rather than inspiration. Don't wait to feel ready or to be motivated enough to start. Begin immediately, no matter how small the step, and let the action generate energy and drive. Another critical aspect is consistency. Momentum thrives on repetition. Each action, no matter how minor, adds to the force moving you forward. Missing a day or skipping a step slows the momentum. But the beauty of it is that momentum can be rebuilt and strengthened with renewed action. Momentum also reshapes your identity. As you continue to act, you begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who takes action regardless of mood or circumstance. This shift in self-perception reinforces your actions, creating a positive feedback loop. Eventually, taking action becomes natural, almost automatic, and you no longer rely on fleeting bursts of motivation to keep moving. Instead, your life begins to change because your actions, repeated over time, carry the weight and power of unstoppable force, allowing you to achieve goals that once felt impossible. The third key point, the compound effect, is one of the most powerful principles for creating lasting change in your life, yet it is often overlooked because its results are not immediate or dramatic. The compound effect is the idea that small, consistent actions, repeated over time, accumulate and grow into extraordinary results. It works quietly, almost invisibly, but its impact is undeniable when observed over months and years. Most people underestimate the power of incremental change because they are trained to look for instant results, big breakthroughs, or dramatic shifts. They want to see immediate gratification, and when it doesn't happen, they give up or lose faith. But the truth is, meaningful change rarely happens overnight. It is the small, disciplined choices you make every day, choosing to read a few pages, exercising for 10 minutes, saving a little money, or speaking kindly, that add up. Each choice may seem insignificant in isolation, almost invisible against the backdrop of your life, but collectively, these choices shape the trajectory of your future. The compound effect works in both positive and negative directions. Just as small positive habits accumulate to create success, small negative habits accumulate to create setbacks. A minor indulgence repeated consistently, an unproductive routine allow. To persist, or a tiny lapse in discipline may seem harmless in the short term, yet over time these actions compound, creating outcomes that are far greater than you imagine. Understanding the compound effect shifts your perspective. It teaches you to value consistency over intensity and persistence over bursts of effort. It encourages you to focus on daily behaviors and decisions, knowing that even small improvements, when compounded, can lead to massive transformation. For example, improving by just 1% every day may seem negligible, but over the course of a year, that 1% improvement compounds into significant growth. Similarly, small financial habits, saving a little each week, investing wisely, avoiding unnecessary expenses, can lead to long-term wealth. The compound effect also teaches patience and discipline. It reminds you that success is not about instant gratification, it is about faith in the process, trust in the small steps, and commitment to repetition. When you embrace the compound effect, you stop seeking shortcuts or quick fixes. You begin to recognize the power of incremental improvement and the importance of sustaining good habits, even when the results are not immediately visible. Moreover, it instills a sense of responsibility because you understand that every choice, no matter how small, contributes to your overall outcome. Your life is the sum total of your daily habits and decisions, and by harnessing the compound effect, you can intentionally design the future you desire, leveraging the quiet, unstoppable force of small, consistent actions that grow exponentially over time. The fourth key point, breaking limiting patterns, is crucial for anyone who wants to create meaningful and lasting change in their life. Each of us has routines, behaviors, and thought patterns that have been reinforced over years, often without conscious awareness. Some of these patterns serve us, they help us stay productive, healthy, and aligned with our goals, but many others hold us back, keeping us stuck in cycles of procrastination, fear, self-doubt, or unhealthy habits. The first step to breaking these limiting patterns is awareness. You cannot change what you do not see. Take the time to examine your daily routines, your responses to challenges, and the decisions you make automatically. Notice where you consistently act in ways that do not serve your best interest. These are the patterns that quietly dictate your life, shaping your results far more than you might realize. Once you identify these patterns, the next step is to understand their triggers. Limiting patterns are often tied to specific cues or emotional states. For instance, stress may trigger overeating, fatigue may trigger procrastination, or fear may trigger avoidance. By recognizing the conditions under which these behaviors arise, you gain the power to intervene before they take control. Breaking limiting patterns also requires replacing old habits with new, empowering ones. Simply trying to stop a behavior without a replacement often leads to failure because the underlying triggers remain. To create lasting change, you must consciously design alternative responses that serve your goals and reinforce positive outcomes. For example, if stress triggers unhealthy eating, replacing that response with a short walk, deep breathing exercises, or journaling can redirect your energy and begin forming new neural pathways in your brain. The brain thrives on repetition and consistent practice of new habits. Gradually rewires your responses, making them automatic over time. Another essential element in breaking limiting patterns is mindset. Many people unconsciously tell themselves stories that justify their behaviors. I've always been this way, or I can't change. These narratives reinforce the very patterns you want to break. By challenging these beliefs and reframing your story, you create mental space for change. Affirming your capacity for growth and embracing the possibility of transformation strengthens your resolve to act differently. Environment and social influence also play a critical role. Surrounding yourself with people, spaces, and cues that support your desired change accelerates the process. Limiting patterns often persist because your environment continually reinforces them. So shifting your surroundings and seeking accountability can make the difference between temporary effort and permanent transformation. Ultimately, breaking limiting patterns is about reclaiming control over your life. It is about recognizing that the forces that have shaped your past do not have to dictate your future. By identifying patterns that hold you back, understanding their triggers, consciously replacing them with empowering habits, and cultivating a mindset that supports change, you set yourself on a path toward greater freedom, purpose, and achievement. The fifth key point, immediate action creates transformation, is a principle that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Too often, people wait for the perfect moment to start, to begin a new habit, pursue a goal, or make a change in their life. They tell themselves they will act when conditions are ideal, when they feel ready, or when the timing feels right. But the truth is, the perfect moment rarely comes. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of distractions. Waiting for a signal from the universe or for motivation to strike is a trap that keeps people stuck, living a life far below their potential. Transformation begins the instant you take action, no matter how small or imperfect that action may be. The act of starting, even in a modest way, creates momentum, signals your brain to focus, and begins the process of rewiring habits, behaviors, and patterns that shape your life. When you act immediately, you break free from the paralysis of overthinking, self-doubt, and fear. Every moment you wait to start is a moment in which your life continues unchanged, your goals remain distant, and your potential remains untapped. Action is the bridge between intention and result. You can have the clearest vision, the most detailed plan, and the strongest desire, but without action, these remain abstract concepts rather than reality. Immediate action transforms possibility into probability. It shifts you from thinking about what could be into doing what is. Even a single step in the right direction can set off a chain reaction, creating experiences, insights, and opportunities that were impossible to foresee. Acting immediately also strengthens confidence. Each time you take decisive action, you prove to yourself that you are capable of change, capable of moving forward, and capable of overcoming obstacles. This self-efficacy compounds over time, making it easier to take bigger steps, tackle more significant challenges, and expand the boundaries of what you believe is possible. Waiting, on the other hand, fosters doubt, hesitation, and stagnation. Immediate action also signals commitment. It communicates to yourself and to the world that you are serious about your goals, that you value your dreams, and that you refuse to let fear or procrastination dictate your life. The energy generated by immediate action is contagious. It propels you forward and often inspires others around you, creating an environment of growth, accountability, and positive reinforcement. Importantly, taking action does not require perfection. You do not need all the answers, a flawless plan, or guaranteed outcomes. Progress comes from engagement, from doing, from learning, and adjusting along the way. Each action provides feedback, lessons, and momentum that cannot be gained through thinking, planning, or waiting alone. Transformation is not a distant event. It begins in the very instant you decide to act, turning intention into motion, possibility into experience, and desire into tangible change. By embracing immediate action, you break the cycle of delay and hesitation, stepping decisively onto the path of your own evolution, where growth, opportunity, and achievement are no longer abstract ideas, but living realities that unfold with every step you take.